What is going on, guys? This is the Bogey Free podcast for the Players Championship. Today we got myself, we got Matt, and we have Jimmy from Tour Fantasy Golf Tour. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Nah, man, we're humble.
Not too bad over here either. We'll get into how I'm actually doing after Sunday in a couple minutes, but yeah, it's good. It's good to have our good friend DFS Jimmy on.
Yeah, man, we're very happy to have you on. Now we hear you're there for this week.
I am actually
word on the street.
The word on the street's right. I am actually here. I'm fortunate enough to live in Florida, and Jacksonville is just a short drive away. So I used to call this place home. And I know Jacksonville fairly well. I've had the fortune of actually playing there on the TPC property. I've never played the stadium course that everybody's going to watch, but I do have I have a hole-in-one on the Dice Valley course, which is kind of cool. It's my singular claim to golfing fame.
That's awesome. Just a heads up for everyone that's watching right now. We have a live stream going on. So make sure you ask questions in the chat box here on YouTube. We'll be answering those throughout the show. And yeah, let's dive into this tournament. Actually, first let's just talk about last week for a second, because Matt, I know you had some fun on Sunday.
Do we have to?
We don't have to, but I really want to.
Let me just get this out of the way. All right, so I am I'm a middle school teacher. I have no money in the bank, so I don't play like big stakes, right? Play a little. I do the quarter arcades. I do the $3, the $5. So I wake up on Thursday morning, and there's like crazy overlay in the dog leg for whatever reason. So I'm like, you know what? Let me throw in a lineup. So then I end up getting 6 of 6 through, right? And feeling good. I'm like, in like the $80 range winning and the $90 range. Then all of a sudden, Sunday afternoon, I look, 1:30, 2 o'clock, I'm in first place. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, I got all this money spent already. It's great. And then Alex Noren happens.
Yeah, this is when
Alex Noren completely torpedoed. I mean, Patrick Reed didn't really do me any favors either, but like, I don't think Noren cared. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a professional golfer, and I'm sure he likes golf, but he just didn't seem.
Oh man!
At the last second.
We lost him at story time. We'll get him back on. We'll get him back on.
Oh,
of course. But yeah, that bottom line, it was sad. It was really sad.
Yeah, so he was in contention, he said, and that's tough. And I know he's not a fan of Alexander Noren after last week, but at DFS Golfer 23, Jason Roslin, my partner at tour level, he actually caught Nick Faldo on the broadcast saying it looked like Noren might have jammed his wrist like in the first 4 holes or so, and from then on he just didn't seem the same. Kind of what he was saying, and I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what the commentator had said at the time, and Jason happened to catch that. So there may be some validity to that. If we go back and check the tape, that he might have plugged his wrist or something like that in a tough shot in the rough or something.
Oh wow!
So
yeah, I didn't see anything on Twitter. I didn't really see any shot that may have led to that, but
me either.
If that's what happened, geez. I mean, it's obviously a perfectly reasonable explanation for what happened, but still.
Yeah, because he definitely was a noticeably different golfer. Towards the mid to second part of that round, it was not the Alexander Noren that we saw the first 3 days at all, right? That certainly gives some validity to the statement, and bears consideration this week, and something to look into. But I have not seen any other notes or articles or anything like that coming out about it. So,
update on our buddy Matt. Apparently, his internet just crapped out entirely on him.
Well, I mean, I guess it's a good thing you guys had me on as a guest today. So,
Hey, that's for sure.
let's find
I
the
mean,
silver lining. There's still two of us here to talk some golf for now.
exactly. I mean, yeah, you don't want to hear me talk about golf for just by myself for an hour or so. I mean, you could, but it would be.
That sucks.
I also noticed that I saw Boget free Boget free, not bogey. I wrote Boget on the. There we go.
Hey,
There
he's
he
back.
is. In some way, there he is. All right, Matt, you alive over there? Maybe not. I don't
Is
know.
your mute button on?
Oh man.
Hey guys, can you see me again? I don't
Oh,
know what
there he
just
is.
happened.
No, you're alive. We found you.
I don't know what just happened. I think mentioning he who shall not be named just completely crapped out my internet. So
I'm pretty sure he's onto us.
I think he just hacked me.
Alex
I think that's what it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
he knows how to do those ISP attacks or whatever.
All right, well, no fear, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys.
Speaking of, I don't want to dwell on this too long because I really want to talk about this week's tournament. But another very tilting situation that occurred last week was Will Wilcox, my man, my hero.
Yeah, what happened with that?
Just the worst. He's such
I
a dope.
think that may have that was worse than the Alex Noren thing. Because like the Alex Noren thing, like you were saying, Jimmy, it could be explained by a possible wrist injury. Will Wilcox, my hero, just decides, we just switch putters for the weekend. He's on fire. Dude's on fire. Just Monday or Thursday, Friday. And then he gets a 4-stroke penalty. Was the 4-stroke penalty or was it just a disqualification? Because not even he knew.
Apparently,
I think what was going on there.
I think the rules official told him it was a DQ at first, but it was really supposed to be 4 strokes, if I'm not
He
mistaken.
got a 4-shot penalty. But still, it's like the guy was he had a legitimate chance of performing well at this thing.
Yeah, but
and then he just switched
and
putters.
He kind of came out of nowhere too, right? I mean, he was an alternate in the field.
Yeah, he was an 8th alternate. And I said to Matt,
PGA Championship stuff right there. If he would have gone on to win that thing, right?
No, seriously, Matt and I were talking about 2 weeks ago or whatever. Right before that tournament, that he was an 8th alternate, and I said if he was going to end up playing in that tournament, the golf gods would want him to win.
Yeah,
but in that situation,
apparently they didn't.
Golf gods trolled him. Because that was an epic troll job for the ages.
Well, I wonder if it's one of those things that maybe a caddy made a mistake and, he's kind of taken the rap for it. Because that's happened before, right? Unintentionally switching a club, repairing a club. I wonder if that's the situation and he's trying not to make it public and it's just a mistake, Yeah.
Well, the thing I heard was that they were talking about, I forget who was talking about it, but I guess because he was mid-round, he wasn't thinking, and he felt like he was putting like crap, and he chose to switch, or at least that's the story. He chose to change putters, and thinking he's going into the 3rd round, like no penalty if you switch, from round to round. That's not a big deal. And he realized that he said something. I forget who he was playing with. He said something when he made like a 10-footer. He's like, "Oh, this putter feels good. This putter feels great," or whatever. And the guy that he was playing with was like, "Dude, you can't do that."
Oh my gosh!
I honestly don't think he's used to playing in the weekend.
That's a fair point too.
So that's just. I don't think he knew the rules for the weekend.
I don't really know what to say about that. I mean, I guess it's one of those things like I and everybody else kind of takes for granted, right? You grab your buddy's club during a round and you hit a shot and it's not a big deal or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and
memory maybe.
I also only have the clubs that I carry around all the time. Like I don't have extra like if I'm not putting well, it's my fault. It's not a new putter. Like
right.
Well,
so that's the thing about pros, man. It's really incredible how much equipment that you try, right? It's kind of crazy. And it's one of those like very, very different things about being a pro. Aside from being able to walk up onto the tee during a practice round whenever you want, you can pretty much try any and every club whenever, wherever you want.
Yeah.
Just think, what would you give to be
Rory
Rory
this
today,
week?
right?
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's jump into this because obviously we could go all day with this Will Wilcox
Yeah,
talk
we're off the
for
rails.
sure. But all right, let's just jump into this Players Championship here. We're playing at TPC Sawgrass, and this is another one of those die courses that Matt and I just love to talk about on the show because this is still somewhat of a learning process for me. So the term Pete die was just okay. That's what it was the first tournament that this came up. But yeah, so let's swing it over to you, Jimmy. Now I know you've been there for a few days now. Just tell us some of what you've been seeing. Some guys that look good, some guys that look bad. Just what are your thoughts?
Well, to get into it, the course for one is, it's been pretty dry here in Florida, so it's probably going to be pretty dry. It's in really good shape, but the rough seems to be down a little bit compared to where I've seen it in the past. So the course could play pretty tough this week in general. I think guys are going to get some run, and as you know, on a Pete Dye course, being on the wrong side of the hole is not where you want to be, right? So that definitely comes into play. I saw some players surprised by some of the bounces they got out there today. The 12th hole is going to be incredible. It's I really am just thrilled to see how guys attack this hole at the 12th. It doesn't look anything the same. I mean, it's really not. It doesn't. From last year to this year, it doesn't look anything like the same hole. It's not going to set up anything the same for the pros, and they can rip it down there. Getting home is no problem, but guys are going to make big numbers there too, especially if the wind picks up this week. It's really easy to get yourself in trouble on the 12th, but at the same time, there's a possibility this week of seeing back-to-back eagles on 11 and 12. Spieth almost did it today, actually. He almost went eagle albatross today when he was out there. Yeah. So, yeah, Jason, my partner, actually asked him on the tee, hey, man, have you ever gone eagle? He goes, man, I've or eagle albatross or something like that. And he's never gone eagle. And it got us thinking that there's probably an opportunity this week for a legitimate shot at an eagle and some big DraftKings points with the way 11 and 12 are setting up this week. So really, man, it's going to be a different tournament than I think we're used to seeing. You've got the 11, 12, and 13 stretch are pretty scoreable, and so is the last, the 16, 17, and 18, which is what the course is known for. But 12 is really going to change this tournament, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun to post up on 12 and watch guys go at it this week.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see who actually gets after it, because it seems like everybody. Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like I just can't imagine. I can't imagine getting to that point, and just the way that hole looks visually from the tee box, like the videos and stuff that I've seen. I'm like, I can't even fathom going after that green, because it seems like everything will sort of shoot to the left towards the water there from a certain point. So it'll definitely be interesting. I think there's going to be anywhere from 2 to 8s probably.
Yeah, it's going to be a great short par 4. It really is. And it is shaved, and balls are going to be running into the water there. But the problem is the layup's not great, right? The layup to the right sets you up for an awkwardly yardage chip across the green towards the water and towards that slope. So, I mean, really, and guys are going to be getting there with 3-wood.
Yeah.
So, there's not a lot of incentive to lay back, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, they were talking about on Twitter this morning, they were talking about Rory's new clubs. He came out for TaylorMade, I guess now, and he was showing off his 1-iron, and he's like, oh yeah, it's my 290 club. I'm like, must be nice.
It's nice when you can start touting your new clubs on Twitter like that, like right before a tournament. That's a nice feeling. So I want to pose this question to both you guys. Maybe you have similar answers, maybe you don't. But what key stats are we focusing on for this week when we're looking at our player pool and just how this course plays out?
You want me to go first? I'll
Yeah,
tackle that one.
I
Yeah,
posed
go for it, Jimmy.
yeah, Jimmy, you're our guest. So we'll give you the
Okay.
honors.
So I think the most important stat's going to be approach. These greens are going to dictate that by Saturday and Sunday, the spots that you're going to be able to hit on these greens and hold where you want to is going to be really small. And I think that the guys that are really dialed in and can hit that 3 yard to 4 yard circle on the green that they want to, and let the ball funnel around is going to be key. The greens are holding pretty well right now, but I do think that with new greens, the dry weather and the winds, we're going to see the greens firm up quite a bit this week, and the course in general. So being able to hit those spots on the greens to be able to hold them by the weekend is going to be really important. And then I'm going to go to the next one, which is scrambling. Yep. They have shaped this course pretty good. It's just so easy to run off of these edges. I watched several chips today that guys were really surprised where the balls finished in collection areas, things like that. They're definitely getting used to the greens, and the greens are going to change quite a bit over the course of the week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's pretty much all that I've been looking at. And considering that this will be sort of like we were just talking about on 12, it's going to be one of those is it worth it to go for a 2, or should I just make sure I don't get an 8 sort of deal? So I'm also sort of factoring in a little bit of like bogey avoidance stuff, just because it's not going to, it's not going to be like some crazy birdie fest where the winner's like 26 under or something ridiculous. It seems to usually fall somewhere in the teens. So I'm thinking all these guys can find their birdies, but avoiding big numbers is going to be important too.
Yeah, I saw something on Twitter the other day from Pat Mayo. Pat Mayo was like tweeting stuff out on Sunday or something like that. He put out like a screenshot of an Excel spreadsheet. It was pretty much the biggest correlation factors of this course and what stats traditionally do well here. The strongest correlator was strokes gained tee to green, which is pretty obvious for any course. Right. Bogey avoidance, birdie or better, and strokes gained approach, as well as total putts gained. So that's what's worked here on this course for the past 4 years, based on that data set.
Yeah, and I mean that all makes pretty good sense. Obviously, the birdies are kind of built in to the DraftKings scoring, and the bogey avoidance. In this week, I think your bogey avoidance is avoiding a bogey is almost like making a birdie to the field, because, like you said, the winner's only been in the teens. It averages 13 under, and it's been pretty consistent. And the cut line is always even. Always. Right. Well, there's 2 years where it's been 2 under, but it averages 1 under, and it's right about even every other year except 2 that were 2 under. So in the last 5 or 7 years. So pars win this golf tournament, right? Birdies don't really win this golf tournament, and everybody scores on the same holes, the par 5s, and they're going to score on the 12th. So it's going to boil down to who's going to avoid bogeys on the rest, and that's really what it comes down to.
For sure, and I think it's a lot more important to stress that for FanDuel than DraftKings, because FanDuel's scoring is like, if your guy bogeys, it just seems like it's done. It really does, and that's just really how their scoring goes. And I think this week it's just even that much more critical to have guys that are going to avoid birdies, and maybe not your Lucas Glover types, right? Your birdies.
No,
you're like your 5 birdies in a row, then 6 bogeys. It's probably not the way you want to go this week.
Yeah, well, and the putting, you brought up putting as a correlated stat here, and I think that putting it's going to be interesting this year because of the new greens. They, with the Tiffy Bermuda greens coming in, you generally need 2 to 3 years before greens really settle into how they're going to play for the rest of their life, right? They tend to be hard. The root structures aren't set up after the first year, and that's where we're at. So as firm as it is and as dry as it is, they're going to have trouble, I think, keeping these new greens the way they want them. And the putting could be interesting. If you remember, is it last year or 2 years ago, that Saturday of Death, right, where they had the green, it was like putting on ice rinks, right? The guys couldn't even sole their putters. There's potential for that to occur this weekend by Saturday or Sunday, depending on how hot it gets and how much wind we get.
So, Jimmy, real quick before we sort of start diving into the player pool, I'm always under the sort of school of thought, like if if the greens are going to play like that, right? So like onto these POA greens that nobody can really seem to figure out besides a handful of guys or whatever the case is, like, do you think that sort of neutralizes it for even the bad putters, or like how do you like which way do you go on that?
Well, so I've got an answer, and it involves the same guy 2 different years in a row. So first of all, my number 1 pick is Hideki Matsuyama this week. He's been top of my board, and he's a terrible putter, right? So
Okay.
that tells you what I think about the variant that is going to be in putting this year.
Right.
So let me go back to last year in that Saturday of death. If I remember correctly, he was like first or second in strokes gained putting on the Saturday of death.
Right.
And it was like him and Ken Duke, right? And Ken Duke's was because he was sticking every iron like to 3 feet, right? And he was just draining putts, and he had an incredible round while the rest of the field shot 80. Decky was just making putts because I really think that those slick, glassy greens that nobody could do anything with just kind of benefited his, highly variant putting style, right? He just happened to roll in a couple that he wouldn't have otherwise. And, so yeah, I do think it neutralizes the field to a degree. I did see Jordan Spieth shaking his head a couple of times. He's not used to these greens.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to be, right? And they're going to change a lot over the course of the week. So I really think that you can, put a little bit of stock in your bad putters this week, like Adam Scott, who can't seem to make anything outside of 10, 11 feet. He's got that new TIE Fighter on a stick that seems to be doing pretty well for him. And you could see him drain more putts than he normally would this week and on these crazy greens.
Right. Okay.
So,
yeah, that's kind of
all
how
right.
I
So,
feel too.
all right. So let's jump into this player pool here. We'll start with our golfers who are 9K and up on DraftKings, and I think the top 3 here salary wise: Dustin Johnson at 12,000, Rory McIlroy at 11,200, and Jordan Spieth 10,800 will probably garner the most attention out of most of this player pool in general. Also, just a reminder to everyone, we are taking questions in the YouTube chat area, so make sure to get those questions in, and we'll answer those throughout the show. All right, so yeah, guys, I'll start with you, Jimmy. I don't know, how you liking these top 3? Who do you prefer the top 3, and why?
My bias from following him around today, Jordan Spieth made some incredible shots. But that is today's bias. When I look objectively at it, his history here is not great, but he does have a 4th. And, his last time out at the Masters in his current form was good at a course that he loves. So, is it his time to shine here again after a couple of years of missed cuts and get back to the 4th? Based on what I saw today, he was aggressive, and I'll tell you, man, he hit a couple of shots that were just incredible. And so I don't know if that's what's going to translate to the tournament, but Spieth does look like he's in better form to, produce better results in the last couple of years. I personally am going to look at Rory and his new TaylorMade clubs and his the wedding swag. I'm going to play a little bit of the narrative with the wedding swag. But I do like Rory here. He's got elite course history. His last 2 results have been very good. And I think the rest of the crowd is going to like Rory, so he's not going to be contrarian in any sense. But I do like him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone in that top area is going to be contrarian in any way. We like to use the fan share tags as a means of projecting ownership. Great tool they have over there. I mean, Dustin Johnson is 16 tags, Rory is 22, Jordan Spieth is 15. So yeah, they're all pretty much going to be in the higher owned area. Matt, what do you think of this top 3 group here?
Yeah, I mean, I said it, I said it last week about DJ just being so expensive, and I'm feeling the same way again this week. I know he ended up coming in second, but last week, but he made the cut, by a stroke or on the number last week. Like, if he doesn't do that, you're talking about a disaster spending $13K on him. Not that he's going to miss the cut this week, but just that price. Like, if I can spend 10.8 on Spieth, like, I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? I think Spieth, despite whatever sort of struggles he's had here, I think he's in a good headspace right now, and I think he'll be fine. And Rory is just It's almost going to be just like a split between the two of them for me, and I'm pretty much just going to fade DJ just because everybody's going to be on him. It doesn't really matter what fan share tags say. I feel like at the end of the day, everybody's going to end up onto him since the pricing's so soft.
Yeah, this is definitely actually that's a really good note to share because like for what's essentially a fifth major in the Players Championship, a lot of people are playing, a lot of bozos, for lack of a better term, are playing this thing on both or all the sites, fantasy draft, FanDuel, DraftKings. So yeah, pricing will be a lot softer than it normally is. You will probably get the opportunity to play a lot of, name guys. So yeah, I mean, a Dustin Johnson fade isn't the craziest thing in the world if you think about it. If you want to try to leverage ownership.
So hot take on Dustin Johnson and why you if you're looking for a reason to go with him or against him, here's a fairly defining feature based on we know that we need scrambling this week. Last week he was almost a stroke worse than his year-to-date average in scrambling.
Yeah, he was awful.
Yeah.
So he gave back basically, but that's not just what he lost to the field. That's just he was a full stroke worse than his year-to-date average.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it definitely was the worst part of his game, and you're definitely going to need that this week. And he has the worst course history of the three. So, I mean, if you're looking for a reason, there it is. And I do agree with you. I don't think he's going to be low on. People play DJ no matter what. He has a floor of ownership, no matter how expensive it is.
Sure.
Oh yeah, he's a name that you'll find like on any mainstream sports network, and ESPN, of course.
So yeah, if you're looking for a reason, his strokes gained around the green were not stellar last week. So that could be the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, to get off of him.
Yeah, that's a really good point right there. All right, so let's move on to another set of golfers here. We have we'll take another trio here in Sergio, Jason Day, and Hideki Matsuyama. Now, Jimmy, I know you said you like Hideki Matsuyama quite a bit this week. Care to explain?
Well, I mean, he has elite course history. He's gotten better every time he's played, and he's only finished inside the top 25. Or he finished T23 and then T17 and then 7th, right? His form is incredible. He had that run, early in the year, and then he kind of lulled out, and then, he pops up with an 11th at the Masters, scores better than I think a lot of people expected him to. And again, I kind of explained myself on the putting. I'm not really terribly concerned about his putting. He's found a way to perform well here throughout the years he's played, and he's always struggled with his putting. Ball striking seems to prevail around here, and nobody's better than Decky, right? He's been the David Johnson of the PGA in terms of scoring DraftKings points because of his ball striking this year from the swing season to now. So priced under $10,000, I don't think he's any secret, but fading Decky here is probably a bad idea. And I think his ownership's going to get lower, going to get a bump down because Rahm's sitting right there. And people are going to play Rahm. And he's the shiny new toy. And not that I don't think you should play Rahm. I just think it's going to benefit Decky's ownership from a game theory perspective.
So
now, Matt,
Evan.
Yeah, Matt, I was going to say he just said your trigger word or your trigger name.
I just need to explain to Jimmy right now in the spreadsheet that I put together. I skipped actually typing out John Rahm's name, and I just put a picture of a goat this week. So
it's appropriate.
It's fine.
It's
very appropriate. It's fine.
But like we said, I know, we sort of were gonna go right above him, but including him. Like Hideki, you could play Hideki and Rahm easily with the salaries.
Oh yeah,
the way the salaries are, there's no problem with that. Like starting off there and seeing sort of where you end up. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that at all. I like Hideki a lot this week too. I think people have sort of like the general public certainly doesn't know a ton about him, and he's a couple. Like you said, he did well in the Masters, but he sort of lulled there for a little bit. And I mean, if he can put it back together a little bit, you're looking at real potential for high scoring in DraftKings. So I'm totally with you there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I want no part of
you're going to need to find Eagles this week too. The holes are gettable. The par fives, you can get to them. I mean, it just depends if the guys want to go, but you can, right? And you're going to need eagles, and Decky just has a knack for doing that. And, put yourself on and two in these par fives, and he's going to find an eagle or two throughout the week. And I think that's going to be important.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. Well, yeah, some really good thoughts there. Let's look at the last couple golfers here in that 9K range, or that 9K and up. We have Ricky Fowler and Justin Rose. How much interest, Matt, I'll start off with you. How much interest do you have in either of these guys?
I have so much Fowler interest. Like, I don't know. It's just another one of these weeks.
And what
where,
I mean, yeah,
it's just another one of these weeks where like since we have like a huge sort of sample of data from this tournament. Obviously, it's been played for years. I put together a couple of models this week based on like past results, and this is one of those weeks where he sort of popped. And the last time he popped like this was when he won the Honda Classic.
Yeah, that's right, the Honda.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where I'm not going to overthink it. He's obviously won here before a couple years ago. He's doing most of the things that you're looking for. And he's sort of got like his little swag back. Like he's on Instagram. He was at the Derby the other day with his chick. Like it's
did you see the jacket he was wearing though?
Oh, it was the best.
In the worst way possible.
See, this is why I love that's why I love the horse races, because like this is it is like the type of debate that it sparks, not the actual horse race, but the clothes that the people were wearing.
Oh, he was so swagged out. It was awesome.
Oh yeah. No,
I'm not sure I'm going to call that swag. Dude, that jacket was worse than his pink and yellow shoes he wore at the Players last year. Right? Do you remember those things?
Yeah.
I thought his feet were going to explode if he started walking too fast.
He did step up his shoe game at the Arnold Palmer, though. You do got to give him that.
Yeah, no. Okay, so the Arnold Palmer shoes were really sweet. I agree.
All right.
And I'm not.
But so
good. The fashion here is the key element.
Hot fashion.
Yeah, leaving the hot fashion takes and going back to the golfers. I like Ricky Fowler as well. I mean, it's hard not to like him. He's been in incredible form. And the same can be said for Justin Rose, right? But they both kind of have this spotty course history that doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling for cash. That said, again, you can stack them both up if you really want to. But I'm probably going to stick more to the top two in the 9K range personally when it comes to just my rosters, and I'll probably drop below those two to a couple more guys that I like that we'll get to.
Yeah, like if I'm doing like a 3-entry max, I'm probably just going to mix and match like Matsuyama and Rahm and Fowler and Matsuyama that way, and just sort of cover my bases there.
Yeah.
All right. That makes sense. Of course, the Ricky Fowler and his clothes, that works. It's a good narrative. I like it. All right, let's jump to another set of golfers here. Now we'll look at some of these 8K. We'll look at the 8K range next. So Justin Thomas, I know, is probably someone you want to talk about, Matt. Henrik and Brooks Koepka, we'll talk about them as well. But yeah, Matt, I'll start off with you. How do you feel about Justin Thomas this week? Yes, he's going to be chalky. Chalkiness worth the roster spot?
I mean, he's going to be almost like, based on what FanShare is showing us right now, I feel like it's almost bordering on not worth it to play him in a GPP. If you want to go with him and I like him.
Now here's my.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, here's my next question to you. Like, what stats are attractive to him, and like, why is he gonna be chalk in the first place?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with his price. Obviously, I mean, he's the 10th down, and people feel like he could sort of mix and match with a bunch of the guys that are a little bit above him, maybe. He has good greens and regulation. He's good on the par fives. Like, he has some of the stuff that we're looking for. He can clearly score. He had a 59 in the beginning of the year. So, he can score with the best of them. But I don't know. I just, and maybe Jimmy, you can tell me I'm a moron or that I'm right, but I kind of gravitate towards him more when I think it's going to be like a birdie fest sort of tournament. Like, I don't know that I love him if the winning score is going to be like 13 under.
Yeah, I hear that argument. I personally think Justin Thomas has taken a step forward in his game this year. So my argument against the Birdie Fest is, you remember the U.S. Open last year, and if you go back to Oakmont, he torched the course on Saturday or Sunday and put himself in contention on a really difficult course. And the way he did that was dialing in his driver, right? It's always been his weakest link. Is the guy, I mean, when he misses huge. And because he's so long, his misses are even bigger than the rest of the field. And it gets him in a lot of trouble, and he posts really big numbers.
Right.
So if I look at the worst part of his game, so it's almost like the reverse DJ, right? DJ needed to improve his wedges because he was so long, and he did that. Well, flip it around for JT, and that's kind of what you're getting, is a much improved JT. So you take a guy that likes windy courses and has won, outside of the United States, or at least the contiguous 48, on windy exposed golf courses. He has 2 top 25s back to back with a third last year. People are going to go to him, and he's excelled his entire career on less than driver courses because it takes that really dangerous club out of his hands. Now, why am I going to play him this week regardless of the ownership? Because he's going to score, and he's going to score a lot here. So I don't really care how highly owned he is. If he's the guy that I need in my lineup at 8,900 as chalk, then I'll build around him. But I think Justin Thomas is going to score a lot of points this week, and that back-to-back eagle opportunity, he's the guy, right? It's just, he's long enough. He's long enough with his shorter clubs. And if this course starts to speed up and run out, Justin Thomas is going to eat it alive in terms of, his distance off the tee. He'll be hitting irons, right? So that's why I like Justin Thomas this week. I think his game is where it needs to be, and he's comfortable at this course. And yeah, I think he's just going to score a lot of points. Plus, people are going to play him over Stenson all day. Right? No one's going to play Stenson, so that's just going to bump up his ownership even more. He's got the best course history of like the group in the 8,000s in terms of consistency,
right?
Just recently. So, and people love Justin Thomas, right? He's a hot new young guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll be playing him. The ownership be damned.
I mean, see, the thing is how I like to approach these chalk situations. Yeah, jeez, I can't talk. You really have to make a stand, right? You have to say, all right, I'm going to be well over the field on this guy, or I'm going to be well under the field. Now, in this situation, I might expect Justin Thomas to be maybe 30% owned. I think that's a decent estimate, if not more. So if he's going to be 30% owned, you're either having 10 or you're having like 60% of the guy, at the very least. That's the only way. That's the only way you can really establish a stand on any of these chalk guys. And then if you're in a 3 max tournament, I suggest just having only like one of him in those 3 lineups. Again, just an ownership thing, leveraging that. And then single entry, I would fade him.
I can see that.
Only
I don't
because
think he's going to be 30% owned, but I can see where you would
I
want to fade him.
Yeah, that's just a guesstimate based on just a random thought.
So it's incredibly precise.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah, it's no, Matt and I know. See, I see, like, that's the thing. That's the difference with you and Matt. Like, I can just throw out random ownership percentages, and Matt will be like, all right, sounds good. And then you, Jimmy, you're just like, nope, no way on that 30%. I don't know. I don't know. It was interesting to have some blowback on that one. But I get it. I feel it. That's good. It's good to have.
Hey, that's how you get the right answer, right? You go back and forth.
Exactly.
That's how it works, right? It's a process.
Exactly.
Trust the process, right?
Trust. Oh man. I've been trusting the process for way too long. Sixers. I mean, I've been a Sixers season ticket holder for now it'll be 4 years now. So there's a process I've been a part of for way too long. Okay. Anyway, that's
moving on.
That's a podcast of its own kind. I mean, of course, we just said that Henrik Stenson. I mean, no one's going to be on him, but for good reason.
Yep.
He's
No,
88.
thanks.
He's 8,800, and I mean he doesn't really fit the course here too much.
I actually think he fits the course, but his game's just not there. I mean, if his game's on, he's that, down the fairways, type of guy you need to place the ball where you want and be able to score. But he hasn't performed exceptionally well, and his game is not where it needs to be for me to put him on a roster of mine.
Yeah, no, it's crazy looking at his numbers like for this season when the way that you have, your preconceived like this is what Stenson does, and just seeing his line right now of all his stats from every part of his game, it's just like it does not make any sense for what you'd expect from him. So I'm not gonna touch him.
No.
No.
All right, so this thing keeps like beeping and dinging. I just wanted to shut up. Siri needs to just stop talking. It really does. Again, completely different side note, but all right, let's talk about our next golfer here. We have Brooks Koepka, who is slightly more desirable than Henrik. Has a much higher fan share tag, or a much higher number of fan share tags as of right now, Tuesday night. Where are we at with him? I'll start with you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's starting to put it together. He carried little bro to a pretty good finish at the Zurich Classic. I mean, he's sort of, I don't really know how to describe it. Like I just feel like the general like public sort of forgets like how talented the guy really is, and he's starting to come back to that. So I kind of like him a little bit this week. I'm not crazy about him, but I mean the scrambling's kind of a ding on him right now. But he can definitely score on the par 5, so that's gives me a little ray of sunshine there.
What about you, Jimmy? How do you feel about Brooks this week?
I think Brooks is finding his form. He's still not back to where he wants to be with his driver, I don't think, but the rest of his game is come around to be in pretty good shape. At the Valero, he was basically dead even with his year-to-date putting stats, and he had a chance to win that tournament, several times over, really, and just didn't close it out. So I think if that putter ticks up just a hair and his driver continues to come around and he doesn't snap another one in two, Brooks is a play this week because his approach game and his around the green game is it's about a stroke over average right now. So I think that he's going to be okay with that. And his approach game is dialed in, as we saw at the Valero. So, I know that's not a huge sample, but you got to kind of take it for what it is. I think Brooks has another guy that's going to post a lot of DraftKings points. I don't think I'd bet him outright, but he's going to score DraftKings points this week. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy, are you looking at anybody else in this like sort of 8,000 range here?
Yeah, I think Adam Scott's incredibly underpriced. I'm not entirely sure what's happening there. FanDuel has him up at 9,300. He's at 8,400 on DK, and he's a major champion. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the 5th major. Scott kind of gets fired up for several weeks a year, and this is one of them. So I don't really know why he's 8,400. Let me see here. I mean, his course history is but it's not terrible. It's not great. It's not elite, right? But it's Adam Scott. Again, the weakest part of his game is putting, and we're not really sure what to expect on new greens. So I think we have to give a bump to a guy that struggles with this putter that's been better than average this year, and we know his ball striking is incredible. So I mean, I like Adam Scott because there's another thing when you look at who's going to be at the top of this leaderboard year over year over year. It's elite players.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You need elite ball striking to be successful here. You either need it consistently or you need it that week. And Adam Scott has it consistently. So I think he's one of those must plays down there at 8,400. Some people are going to be drawn to Chappell, and I think Chappell's a fine play this week as well. But I think it's a little bit crazy to me that Adam Scott's at 8,400 and Kevin Chappell's at 8,500.
Yeah, I think it's pretty wild. Like he's the 14th highest salary, and he's 11th in the world right now. Like,
yeah,
doesn't really mesh to me either.
Nah.
So that's definitely somebody I'm looking at too.
Yeah. So
Now,
I mean, there's some other
course-
guys in there, but
Yeah.
that's the one that jumps out to me.
Yeah.
Now with Adam Scott, there's always my famous quote. When Adam Scott decides to do bad, there's my famous quote of I'd rather have the actor than the golfer. Which again, if we want to talk about mediocrity, we could talk about Adam Scott, the actor. He hasn't been doing anything. He hasn't really done anything really since Hot Tub Time Machine. I don't know if anyone wants to point me in the right direction, you can. But I mean,
yeah, I'm not familiar with the body of work of the one actor Adam Scott, so I can't really comment intelligently on that. But I can say that Adam Scott, the golfer, is probably a better play than Adam Scott, the actor, this week, in my opinion.
see, you would think, but when
Hot takes.
and I'm just saying, if Adam Scott, in like the small percentage of chance that Adam Scott like really does bad, you'll think of that. You'll think of that, and you'll say,
You're right. You're right. I'm gonna look back on it and be like, you know what, dude?
maybe he
Eric
was
was
right. Maybe Evan was right. That would be the first thing I'm right on.
For the
but,
amount of,
you
for
know.
the for the amount of ownership that I'm gonna have of him this week, I hope not.
I hope for you too, bud. That wraps it up for the 8K golfers. Unless any of you guys have anything else to say for this group.
No, I think
No,
we
there's-
can.
Okay.
The 8K group's a good group in general. I think that there's
Yeah.
several great plays in there.
Yeah.
A couple of them are much better plays on FanDuel than they are on DraftKings in general. So people should be aware of that and be cognizant of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing both sites, certainly get your exposure to the guys you want on either site that's priced appropriately. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the general strategy I take with any sport. You're playing multiple sites. So yeah, let's jump down to this mid 7 or the high 7K tier out actually. We have Matt Kuchar at 7,900, Duffner at 78, Molinari at 77, Kistner at 77, and Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah.
Cantlay? Is
Yep.
that all right? I don't want to sound too much of an idiot up here. Matt, I'll let you go first here. You can talk about Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kuchar this week. Fine. He's again, it's just like I don't know, Jimmy, if you feel the same way, it's just like it's hard to roster Kuchar just because like you're watching him and you're just like, oh my God, like is there a personality somewhere? Like, is there some excitement going to like come through at some point? But I mean, objectively, he's a great play. He's just sort of, I don't really want to like watch him,
Yeah. No, it's actually funny. I think Kuchar is like closet hilarious. When you kind of look at how some of the other players react to him, I think he's genuinely a really funny guy in a probably sarcastic and dry way that we don't get privy to. But you're right. From a golfing perspective, it's very much tees, greens, kind of boring, nothing fancy on the scorecards, not too high, not too low. And he does well here. So, there's no reason not to play him unless you're just really looking to avoid him.
Mm-hmm.
For any particular reason.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, the fairly good golfer, of course, cash game guy. Maybe a GPP. I don't know. But, yeah, definitely cash. What about Jason Duffner? How you guys?
Not for me.
I was going to say that initial little, I
think me and Jimmy just made the same exact face when you said his name. We were both like,
Yeah, I heard that
sure.
little noise. I was just like, all right, I guess I triggered the wrong group here. All right, so let's look at these three guys at 7,700 here. Pretty equal fan share tag amounts: 13 for Molinari, 14 for Kisner, 11 for Cantlay. How do you guys feel about this group, Jimmy? I'll ask you first. I don't know. How do you feel about this group? Who stands out? GPP versus cash. Go ahead.
Well, if we're talking FanDuel, I think Patrick Cantlay is a cash lock for rounds 1 and 2 at $6,000. I think it's sort of crazy that he's down there at $6,000 on FanDuel. But of the group, Molinari's my least favorite, even though I know what his course history looks like. And I know that he was hot and has been hot. I prefer Kevin Kisner. I know what that sounds like.
That's nah,
But
that's that little grunt noise right there.
yeah,
All day.
so the reason I prefer Kevin Kisner is I'm a GPP player and I don't play tons of cash, and I think Kevin Kisner is an excellent GPP play this week from a game theory perspective, and he's won on a Pete Dye course before. He's finished second here before. His game's obviously in form. He just couldn't close it out. So I think that from a GPP perspective, he's going to be a good play that has a lot of upside that is probably going to be lower owned than he should be because of Molinari sitting right there and Kuchar right above him. So that's the reason I kind of prefer Kevin Kisner there. But I think Patrick Cantlay is a phenomenal play even at 7,700. He should be, but the guy's really, really talented. There's not a whole lot of holes in this game, and I think that you're going to continue to see Patrick Cantlay creep up leaderboards and creep up the DraftKings pricing on average as we move through the season. So do I think this is a tournament he's going to win? I'm not sure yet. I haven't really dug into it, but the only 2 outings we have from him are incredible considering what the guy's gone through, both personally, both injury-wise and professionally, to come back to where he is now. He's obviously serious about winning on the tour. He's obviously committed to have taken the long road back. So I think it's foolish to look past an incredibly talented young player that's, right in the same mold of guys that have won recently. And like a Cam Smith, for example, that's another just young, talented guy. And this is another one. We've seen a lot of them pop this year. And, Cantlay's one that you're only going to overlook for a little while, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, Kisner has been, he didn't have a great year last year, obviously, but he is just like, he's really just figured it out. He's made such a big jump in his ball striking from last year to this year. And then I'm sure Molinari is going to make the cut, but he's another guy where I'm just like, he's just going to kind of plot his way to like a top 25, whatever it is. And I don't know. I'd rather take the shot on Cantlay. I love watching him just from like a fan perspective. And I think that he's being talked up a little bit, but I don't think that, the quote unquote, public money is going to be, too heavily onto him based just on the fact that he hasn't had a ton of starts this year. So I'm going to be probably overweight on Cantlay and just rooting for him, because how could you not, really?
Yeah, that's the other thing about Cantlay. As a golf fan, you definitely want to be pulling for the guy. He's, it's just an incredible story, and absolutely, and am I a little bit biased? Probably because of that, but again, he's a talented kid, but it's a great story.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about his pedigree, like when he first came out, you're talking about he was talked about with all these young guys that are going crazy, winning everything now. So he obviously had a little bit of a speed bump there for a couple of years, but in all actuality, like he's a talented, just naturally talented guy. And just because he hasn't been around that much doesn't mean that he can't win one of these tournaments soon. Yeah,
no, absolutely. So, but yeah, no, there's a lot in the top sevens. I mean, if we get down into the bottom sevens, this is where I think the tournament's going to be won and lost this week in terms of DraftKings. Is you've got a lot going in the sixes, upper sixes, sevens, and there's a lot of guys that have the opportunity to pop. And I mean, if we sat here and talked about every single golfer, then in the like low sevens and upper sixes, we'd be here till midnight. But this is this is really where the tournament's going to be won and lost this week. There's a lot of talent and a lot of form happening down here in the mid sevens. So
I'm looking at the price tags here for some of these guys, and I'm like, I don't know. There's some really interesting names down here. Like just below Patrick Cantlay, you got it 7,600. You have Tyrell Hatton, Ryan Palmer, and Russell Knox. I mean, it's a pretty good group.
Yeah, I mean, and then you just keep going. You got like Fleetwood,
Phil Mickelson,
another young talented guy. You got Mickelson, you got Finau. Like I mean, it's kind of impossible. But out of it, all the way down to like 7,000, like just 2 or 3 guys. What are you thinking here in this for the rest of the 7,000s, Jimmy?
Oh my gosh, just 2 or 3. Wow. Okay. That's the thing, right? Is the pricing's soft, and it's supposed to be soft because it's, the fifth major and they have a lot of public money coming in. So there is a lot of opportunity here. Obviously, Martin Keimer at 7,300 is going to be chalk. It's kind of crazy to me, but they're begging you to pick him. But it would be foolish not to play him, I think. I like Zach Johnson a little bit this week.
Okay.
And that's one that I'll be on. And then moving down, you said to 7,000.
Yeah, like down to 7,000. What's sort of popping at you?
Yeah, so the Zach Johnson thing looks good to me. Tony Finau is interesting to me this week. I don't really know what to make of him yet, but I definitely don't think he's the missed cut golfer we saw last year here.
Right.
But I don't really know what to make of him. And the other one that doesn't quite make sense to me here that I do like is Daniel Berger. Obviously his game's coming into form. He's in Florida. Not sure if his girlfriend's on site with him this week. I'm going to keep a lookout for that.
Now, would that add or subtract from his skill set this week?
I would subtract massively from his skill set.
Well, at least they got some fun going on there.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things, right? I don't know. It's just the narrative. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's the narrative out there. So I will be keeping a lookout if we see Mr. Berger's girlfriend on site with him. I know Cody Gribble's got his girlfriend with him. She was following him around today. Justin Rose had a whole entourage with him.
Yeah, it's not against his brand either.
No, well, when you're fancy in English, you got to support a bunch of people, right?
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the brand there. So yeah, which other golfers in the 7K tier? Do you guys really want to hit them?
I'm with everybody that Jimmy just listed. If you follow me on Twitter, you noticed that earlier I tweeted that I am apparently the only person on the planet that that spoke about Johnny Vegas this week.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was intrigued.
Like I put him. Like, full disclosure, I don't read anything before I write. Obviously, like I don't listen to any podcasts before we hop on here. I do all that stuff Wednesday. The only thing I know is fan share tags right before I put the spreadsheet together and we record. I assumed that I wouldn't be like lone wolfing Johnny Vegas. Like I was a little shocked. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I like him. I don't know if it's just because of the name. I don't know if it's because he won me some money in the beginning of the year, but I just feel like he has a path to success here. And I don't know. I was just surprised. I think if it works out the way that I'm looking at it, I think he could be a good GPP play. But outside of that, I mean, there's just so many guys in the 7,000s. It's almost impossible to narrow it down. Like, I love Finau every week that he plays. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of with Jimmy on this one.
I think it's an interesting take on Vegas there. I don't necessarily. I'm not high on him, but I think that you have a valid argument that he shouldn't be overlooked. I need to look into him more, but yeah, he's been a better golfer the last 18 months than he has been the last 4 years.
Right.
A lot of that, I think, had to do with trying to keep his tour card, and it really motivated him last year or year before that. I can't remember, but he definitely has stepped up his game, and his approach game is a little more informed than I kind of expected it to be as I'm looking at it now that you brought him up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that as a sprinkle, a little sprinkle.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I'm literally the only person talking about him this week, like you're not going to have to put him in a ton of lineups to be overweight on him. A couple here. It's
looking
and there.
like just one.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Seriously, like just one lineup seems to be like overweight on the field.
Yeah. Which to be just one.
And I think
good, yeah.
I think that's a function of this pricing also. I mean, like you said, you have Berger and Keimer and Horschel and Haas and Bubba Watson and Zach Johnson. Like all these guys are right around him. Of course he's not going to be like talked about that much because he's sort of just lost in the sauce there. So I don't know. I think, like I said, it's not somebody I'm like locking into my cash lineups or anything, but I think he could be a good flyer this week.
Yeah,
Speaking of
he's
flyers,
definitely.
no, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he's definitely not a guy you wanna go like 100% on
No.
for sure. All right, so let's jump down to these sub 7K guys. We have a few. I know Matt, you like Cameron Smith. I just see a heart. I'm not I'm not really sure where to go with that, so I'll let you take it away.
I mean, legitimately, like I don't really see how I can't play him. Like 6,900, he's in good form. Um, I don't know. I just feel like he's, like Jimmy said up at the top of the show, if scrambling is going to be important, he's what, first or second in strokes gained around the green. So that's what you're looking at. If these greens are gonna run fast and they're, you're gonna blow through some of these on your approach shots, he's the guy you want. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there.
Okay, for sure. Jimmy, let's talk about Wesley Bryan for a second here.
Ooh.
I don't know how you feel about him, but he does have some good stuff going for him. He won on the last die course that was played. Slightly underpriced. He's 17th on his approach shots and 25th around the green. How do you feel about Wesley Bryan at 6,900 this week?
I mean, it's a little crazy to me that any recent former tour winner is priced less than $7,000, and we have three of them, right? We've got Wesley Bryan, we've got Brian Harman, who just won last week, and we've got Cam Smith, all that have won the last three tournaments.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, we're missing Kevin Chappell, who's appropriately priced up there at whatever he is, 9,000. But it's sort of crazy to me that to have any former tour winner, especially one like that won on a die course, at 6,900. So I can't argue with anybody that would want to play him. I guess I don't really know what to expect after his win, but I do think that he's probably a good play. He scrambles pretty well, and his approach game is on. We know he's a great putter, right? So if he's one of those guys that I think may not suffer from the putting because, him and Spieth and a couple of these guys that are really elite putters or just really creative, good putters, they work their way around to the changing greens. So I could see him excelling this week.
Okay. So you got him. Let's go to a $6,800 golfer here in Brand Weisberger. Matt, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, I mean, he's just another guy. Like, I'm sort of, I'm reasonably, I don't know. I like to pay attention to the Vegas odds a little bit. He has the 29th best odds to top 20, and he's the 77th salary this week. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a huge discrepancy to me. Like, I can't really get around that. And that's what I was saying before. Like, yeah, DJ's expensive, but if you really want to pay for him, like, there are plenty of guys that you can use to fit him in. Like, you have him. I mean, as much as Noren's dead to me, it seems like he's sort of underpriced again this week. Like, I don't know. Jimmy, what are you thinking about some of these guys?
Burn's a good dude. I like him. He's a solid Euro Tour play all the time. He's definitely one of the Euros that struggles to translate his game across the pond. Mm-hmm. Just generally speaking, I mean, when you look at his results, let me flip back, but if I'm not mistaken, his results here are, just mediocre. He's a really talented golfer. Just for whatever reason, it doesn't translate across the pond. And so I'll probably be staying away from him. But that said, he ranks really highly, and he's in incredibly good form. Right. So he had a fourth he won and then had a fourth right after it in China. So his Chinese form is phenomenal. We don't know how his American form is, right? So, and that's kind of the challenge. It's always that way. It's always been that way with Burned, and I'm not really sure that it's going to change. But if there's an opportunity for him to capitalize on really good form across the pond, it's here. And the course is, it's not like it's not set up for him. He's got the kind of game that can compete here. Right. So I can see it. I personally don't know if it's the right play for me at the moment. I'd have to look into him a little more, but yeah, I don't think a ton of people are going to be on him. And it is interesting to me that, and this is a function of their, probably the discrepancy in Vegas odds is FanDuel's got him priced at like $1,200 higher, like 8,000.
Right.
So, that's another pretty good indicator that he's significantly underpriced. And, I expect him to make the cut. I just don't know how well he's going to score on this course.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I mean, the two courses he just finished in China were really soft, scoreable courses. Hell, one was only 6,600 yards or something like that and had 3 drivable par 4s, and it was a par 72. So I'm not sure how much we can, translate his form there onto the players, right?
Right.
So that's my concern. But I think he's worth a play.
Okay. All right. We'll jump down to another pair of $6,800 golfers. I don't think we're playing one of them, but I just want to mention the name because I want to start reactions here. Luke Donald. I'm getting the nods already. Luke
Nice.
Donald and Alex Noren, both at 6,800. Both at 6,800.
Did Matt sign off?
Matt's ready to kill me. He's ready to just jump through that computer screen, just rip.
I gave my Noren take when we lost Matt earlier.
Yeah.
So I'll be off of him. But Luke Donald is, I mean, listen, I don't think I'm going to be playing him, but it's interesting. A former #1 player in the world that has some elite course history several years back and recently finished second for the 18th time at the RBC Heritage, and then missed a cut. So I'm not sure, but I can see why people might consider playing Luke Donald. I don't think I'm going to be one of them, but it is interesting to me. I do think that, he's an incredible sand player, and people will be bailing out into bunkers this week. So worst idea.
I assume 100% Alex Noren for you, Matt.
Yeah.
50 lineups, all of them with Alex Noren.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm never gonna roster him again, so it's not even worth discussing. But yeah, like you're saying, Jimmy, for Donald, it is a little bit of a weird sort of balancing act between, like, you have this idea in one hand of like, oh, he mashes at Harbor Town, he's this good here, it's a P-tie course, he has a game that sets up for it, and then on the other end you're like, but it's still like he's still Luke Donald now in 2017. So it's like it's definitely a difficult thing to balance. I think he's worth a flyer. But I'm not gonna go crazy on him at all.
Yeah, that, and he couldn't seem to find, off the tee, he seemed to find a lot of trees at the RBC, and his driver didn't improve at the Valero. And I'll tell you what, if you start spraying it around here, he's going to end up at some crazy lies with as fast as I expected to get. So,
right,
that could definitely be challenging for Luke, not having it together off the tee right now.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a decent. I don't know. He's a decent option, but I probably won't have too much of him there. I think we have one more guy to discuss here. We have Ross Fisher at 6,600.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I care to explain this one.
You want to talk about like odds to salary discrepancies? Like, he's 111th in salary, and he's 44th to top 20 according to Vegas. Like, I thought that DraftKings pricing was mostly based on Vegas odds. Like, wasn't that the thought process for most people?
At one point, yeah.
Yeah, not anymore.
No.
Like, that's a huge thing. That's a huge discrepancy. And like I mentioned, the models that I've been putting together, he popped in a lot of those models that I've been looking at. And I mean, by all accounts, it seems like his game would set up reasonably well here. So what are you thinking here, Jimmy?
So I like to compare golfers at different price ranges each week and just kind of see where I get value, whether it be in dollars or ownership. And what jumps out to me this week, and it's only $200, but in terms of where I think ownership's going to go and relative talent, we just talked about Wiesberger and Noren, and I suspect some ownership will go there at 6,800. And the reality is Ross Fisher's a better golfer. Not the Noren necessarily, but I think he's a better golfer than Byrne, and he certainly scores more points than Byrne does.
Right.
Now, he's never made a cut here, but he hasn't played here in like 4 years or 5 years. He's not the same golfer either. So I'm going to take, if I was going to play Noren or Berger, Burger as in Wiesberger, not Burger. But if I was going to play Noren or Wiesberger, I might as well just save 200 and play Fisher because I think he's a better play anyway.
Yeah, he hasn't started here since 2011, so I'm not really, like you said, I'm not really putting a ton of stock into, 6 years ago of how he did. So
yeah. I mean, really, if you're going down this low and you want to play the Euro guy that nobody knows, I mean, play Ross Fisher. He's going to be as owned as Wiesberger or Noren, maybe a little bit less. But either way, I think he's the better play if you're looking for the Euro guy down here.
For sure.
All right. I think any other golfers you guys want to discuss in this price range, or just overall?
No, I think I'm just scrolling through now. I think that pretty much does it for me. I do want to say, make sure that you anybody listening to this, that you guys follow along on Twitter with us, because we, this is Tuesday night and we're still going to be looking at stuff tomorrow, and Jimmy's going to actually be at the course. Like, you have to, if you're just listening to this and only paying attention to that, you're going to definitely miss some takes from the three of us tomorrow. So make sure you're following along that way too.
Yeah, and I will go ahead and use this moment to give a shameless plug to my new website, our new website, and at tourlevelfantasy.com. And follow us on Twitter at tourlevelfantasy as well. And we are going to be tweeting out and doing live periscopes from the course tomorrow, as well as posting all our content and whatnot through there. So give us a follow at DFS Jimmy, at Jay Roslin, or at DFS Golfer 23, and at Tour Level Fantasy. We will have a fairly steady stream of updates coming tomorrow through Twitter and stuff like that.
Shout out to your counterpart there, taking second in the dog leg on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason's been absolutely crushing it. He's got his sights set on taking number one in the golf rankings. So I think he's going for Jet Black's crown. So yeah, so we're gonna see, man. But he's been pretty hot lately, and it's exciting to watch. Actually, I didn't want to bring that up because I know that dog leg's a bit of a sore subject, and I didn't want to rub salt in the wound, to be honest.
No, listen, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm looking through this stuff. We follow each other. We've talked back and forth a couple times here and there, and it's nice to see somebody like that win where that they're putting in the work rather than just some random, it's nice to see. I was happy for him when I saw that.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you said work, because I'll tell you what, getting to know Jason through business and, becoming partners with him and stuff, dude, that guy grinds. I'm not kidding, man. He grinds on his lineups and his decisions and his information. It's pretty impressive, actually. So yeah, it's work. I mean, and that's what I don't think, a lot of people understand is, it takes work to do what you guys do, to do what we do. It's, if you're going to be good at this, it's like anything else. You got to put in the time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's exciting, man. We're looking forward to just a really cool week here at the Players. And, it's hard to beat. This is a job, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys, that'll be it for us. Of course, follow Jimmy and all that, all the Twitter stuff he was just talking about. Follow myself at eChaney17. Follow Matt at MattJonesTFR. And of course, if we're not winning all the money, we hope you guys do. So good luck in your contest this week.